Thank you for staying. Thank you for those online. Thank you for the invitation to be here, both to the Smart Businesses organization and the Universidad Politécnica de Valencia. Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here, and I'm very excited to have already heard throughout the day, throughout the conversations and the coffee breaks, how much all align regarding innovation and seeing the possibility for the importance of making collaborations, of thinking outside the box, of taking risks and finding ways to take those risks and to get financing. And as at the beginning, the president from the Chamber of Valencia, José Morata, said, I'll quote it in Spanish, no habrá un negocio con futuro que no sea sostenible. So it's a lot about what we're saying. It's sustainability from different sides, different perspectives. And when we're talking about circularity, sometimes it's a strange term for some people. It's quite a new term, but it's not a new thing. We call what many people call sustainable is circular. What many people call green is circular. What people call traditional practices, indigenous practices, or regenerative practices is circular. So I wanted to say a little bit more about that, and also to introduce that, as our host said, I'm HEYD. I work at the Platform for Accelerating the Circular Economy. It's a part of the World Resources Institute. And we're based in The Hague. And we have at PACE a very simple, but not very simple, strategy, which is connecting people, people that are committed to change, people that have the interest and perhaps and hopefully already the means, or that are interested in following us, finding the means. We connect those people to very actionable knowledge, sharp actionable knowledge that looks into challenges, the more complicated challenges to circularity, which means challenges that cannot be solved by one company or one government, but cooperation, public-private. That's why we have that on our title. And we create a community of those committed change makers, as we call it, through creating momentum and keeping it moving, keeping it sharing, keep the sharing going, which is so important to break the challenges and reach innovation. So I hope what I'll bring next is interesting, valuable, and that you can take some of it to when you're considering innovating your business, your company, or your, if you're from the public sector as well, your practices. So I think starting by the obvious, I don't know how many of you are familiar with circular economy or what circularity. Maybe while you think about it, I can say what people usually say when I ask if they know what circularity is. And I can quote what my husband actually said to me when I said, do you actually know what I do and work with? And he said, of course I do. Circularity is about recycling. It's the reason why we have so many bins and collect our waste in so many different ways for proper recycling. And although he is not completely wrong, that's not the same as circular economy. I tried to, with this image, show that circular economy is far more than recycling. Recycling is a part of the solution, but if you look at the value of things, the most valuable thing is not to have waste, is to plan what is to be done with what we're calling waste. Waste is just an input or a byproduct that we didn't find a good use for yet. So circularity is about this. It's about rethinking how we're doing things, seeing how byproducts fit other loops, and ideally not have waste. And so what is, in a sentence, circular economy? It's, well, I try to put it here in sort of a simplified way, but it is a global system, and it wants to enable well-being for humans and the planet and nature, as we say it. And how does it allow for it? Because the way we've been doing things doesn't really reach that. It does so by reducing, it does this by designing waste, pollution, and degeneration or biodiversity loss out of how we do things. It does this by rethinking and reducing materials input for what we're doing. It does that by keeping the products and components of what we're using in the loop for longer, and for as long as possible. And it loops materials back when those are at the end of life or at the end of use. And it also thinks, by design, it thinks on regenerating the environment, the land, the water, the systems where it extracts its needed materials and resources. So, as you can see, when we're talking about circular economy, we are talking always about innovation, about thinking outside of the box, and rethinking from how we do things, how we use things, how we consume things, how we teach people, how we build everything. So it's a really strong change of existence for us. And yeah, it's connected when we're talking about businesses and industries, when you're translating it into the behind the scenes of making things happen. It's about reevaluating your product design, reevaluating your business model, your supply chain, and closing loops to get more results from less resources that you use or need. And maybe I think one of the speakers said earlier that businesses are mostly fine. They're fine, entre comillas. I remember he said something like that. Yeah, so if businesses are fine or mostly fine, why do we need a circular economy? Why do we need to change things? Because change comes with a cost, and it's scary, and it's risky. So, yeah, maybe just I will ask another question before I answer that. How many of you, show of hands, how many of you think that we have 2 or more planets to live on, I mean, as humans, as life as we know it? Do you know one? Do you know one else beyond the Earth?
Maybe 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year. So far, we just know this one that we've got. And then, why am I asking this strange question? Everyone knows the answer. It's because why do we behave as if we would have more than one Earth? Probably most of you have heard this already, but it's nice to remember that today, we use far more to live in a sustainable way than we have. We see the minerals, the presentations before, risks, and where the minerals are in the planet, and it doesn't look so good when you think on the long term. So just for an idea of numbers, since the 70s, with industrialization and technology and the speed up of industries, we've been consuming more than 3 times the resources that we used to consume. We are going to about double that 3 times amount from the 70s. We're going to double that by 2050 if we continue to do things just as we do it. And so as you can see this funny or sad picture over there, we use about 1.75 Earth that we would need to sustainably support ourselves. And I don't know if you've heard of the Earth Overshoot Day. Every year they estimate how much we've used our resources and where we should have stopped if we wanted to do things sustainably. And for this year, they estimated just a little bit over half of the year. So by August the 2nd, we will have used all the resources that we should be using until the end of the year. And that is quite scary when you think in proportions. Yeah, and for those that like numbers, it's 100 billion tons that are being used every year. And currently, only about 7.5, some say 7.5 or 8% of this is circular. It's circled back to be used again. And yeah, that's not really great. We are using this linear system that we all know that is very practical. We need something, we take it, we make that, we use it, and we toss it away and hope it magically disappears under the earth or maybe recycled. But there's so much more complicated. It's so much more complicated than that. And we need to see that our economic growth, our business success, as perceived today, shouldn't be attached to the use of natural resources. And yeah, that is possible. So just to answer the question, why circularity? So we've been seeing that with the linear economy, we're using a lot, we're taking a lot, and we're not reusing, and those things are finite. So we're seeing the climate crisis, we're seeing natural resources crisis, a water crisis, and then there are the wars that create instability. We see that some minerals are just in some countries that we don't have access to, or, well, they get very expensive. And there's the pollution that affects our health, the planet's health. There is destructive agriculture that makes that rips the soil from its nutrients. Then we need more fertilizers to make the soil proper to grow. And then we have less variation of plants and nutrients in the food that we get, and then our healthy diet fades away. So that's why we need the circular system, to do more with less in a sustainable way. And we're missing out on several good opportunities, because innovation brings opportunities. And there are numbers based on, some pilots based on studies from all over the world, European Commission as we know it, and respectable agencies such as the World Resources Institute, McKinsey, Accenture, Deloitte, and all the big universities, that, for instance, the European Commission says that if we would apply the ambitious circular economy measures to increase in Europe, we could increase the GDP by 0.5%, and that would mean that by 2030 we could have 700,000 new jobs as opportunity. This, in a global level, could create better jobs, more decent jobs, because it would be coming from enhancing the fields of repair, remanufacturing, refurbishing, and recycling. It could create 6 million jobs by 2030. And it offers, in numbers of economic opportunity, $4.5 trillion, because it would be stimulating business, it would be creating jobs, and would be avoiding waste, because waste also comes with a great cost. Sometimes we don't think about it, but it takes money, it takes time, it takes resources, gas, transportation, space to deal with the waste that we produced. So I'll try to shortly show what is this that I'm talking about in a more concrete way. I chose 3 systems that are easily relatable to us in society nowadays. One of them, the electronics. I'm sure you have a dozen of those at home, and at least one of them with you, on you right now. And what does a circular system for electronics look like? It is, today, as you can see it from this comparison, electronics is fastly growing. It's actually the fastest waste stream growing on the planet, because the technological world makes us want and have easy access to electronic and electric appliances. Who doesn't have a drawer filled with cables and old phones and a broken blender here and there at home? So those are all electronics. They have as composition plastics, but also and especially very valuable components and metals and rare earths that are simply not, they can't be replenished. So they should be sourced back and put back in the system. Many places in the world, electronics are improperly collected and extracted from those minerals, so it's quite hazardous, it's bad for health, and it's poorly cycled back. So a way to bring a future and sustainable or circular solution for electronics would be to, first of all, to have them as a design. You should design them for having less hazardous materials. This is already going on. For when you're dismantling, you don't destroy the whole device. So the design has to be put in place and have thought into. You need, it would be important to think in the long term how to use that one appliance for much longer, and not just buy the new latest edition and just keep doing this and just selling the most and hoping that people will just keep buying it and accumulating it at home. And once we have tried to design it for a better upgrade, dismantling, and extending its life, and thinking of different business models to make still business thrive, we should focus as well in collecting them back when they reach that end of life. So that is another great importance for when we're talking about such valuable materials. And a real-life example of what happens today, we have this company, I don't know if you've heard about, Fairphone. Has that one, right? Yeah, it's based in the Netherlands, and it's a small company. It produces mobile phones, and they have a very strong drive to be committed to be more sustainable, to offer good jobs, and they have several different actions in circularity. I wanted to point out that they use Fairphone, their company, they're very innovative in two ways. I would say the two most innovative ways they have, solutions they have, sorry. And they use modularity. That little photo you see is that the whole phone can be taken apart. You can, if you have a problem with your camera, you can easily contact them and they ship a new camera with instructions, with a very affordable price for you to just replace the camera or another part. And they are really working on the operating system so it can work for about 5 years instead of the average life of a phone that is 20 months. So that is a very innovative, a very possible way of doing it. And I particularly don't have that phone, but many colleagues of mine and many people in the Netherlands do have that phone, so it's affordable. And they also have product as a service, which is called product as a service, but you can see it as a monthly fee and you rent it. So when it's over, it's a reasonable fee, you have support, and you can send it back for when it's no longer useful or needed for you. And another system, let me see how much time, yeah. Another system is food that I wanted to show about what is like to have a circular system for food and agriculture in general. So you probably heard this. If food waste were a country, it would be the third largest greenhouse gas polluter in the world, just behind the US and China. And another quote, they are both from the Food and Agriculture Agency from the UN, FAO. 1/3 of food is lost or wasted every year. And at the same time, about 800 million people are hungry every year. So that doesn't really add up. And why is that? It's because we're losing it and not caring for some actions that could be taken, because we're not looking in general to the whole picture. We don't see the opportunity as in our supply chain. And I will talk a little bit more about it in a second. I just wanted to say that it's not only about gas emissions, it also, especially food, it's for life, it's our base for our lives. And it connects to land use, it connects to water resources, and it connects to investment, because when you lose crops or you lose after harvest to go into the supermarket, or you lose it at home when you cooked it and you didn't plan it, or you didn't eat it and you throw it away. This is all investment throughout the value chain that is just being thrown away. So it's a very critical system for us to care about and to see possibilities in. We could do this change by simply changing how we grow things. So instead of being so aggressive agriculture, there are very known practices, like more ancient practices, that are, for instance, the one called agroforestry, that you mix different types of plants and they help each other grow. There are some that you mix animals and plants and they help each other grow. The nutrients in the soil create a full cycle. And also shift what we grow, because we've all heard that certain productions or crops or animals, they bring more stress to the planet and not necessarily more health for us. So that is something that we can immediately do. And there are, no one's saying that you have to completely change your diet, no one's saying that you cannot eat meat anymore. It's just being more mindful about what a healthy planetary diet means, which is about more fruits, more vegetable, more diverse type of protein. And the second obvious and most promising one is to just focus on reducing food loss throughout the food chain. So from finding solutions for crops and picking up the food, how it's storing it, how to transport it, how to accept food in some countries food is wasted in the supermarkets because the consumers do not like to buy food that looks ugly. Not that it's bad, they just look ugly or imperfect. So also it's about this. And there is one less commonly known topic, that's the third one you see there. It's about wasted resources from what that cannot be avoidable. So for instance, when we prepare meat and we have the animals, and there's a lot of, not just the muscles and the meat that we eat, there are the bones, or other parts of the animals that could be used for other things. Many people say, oh, they're just garbage. They're not. You can make collagen out of it. I saw downstairs we were colleagues with a project that are creating collagen or food for fish and other uses for that particular section that is for the industry that is not seen as profitable. And an example that really changed a few small farmers' reality. This is more common for I don't know if you ever came to this topic, but in several countries, especially Africa, you have small farm holders. They do, especially for instance for avocados. They grow avocados, but they have very small pieces of land, and until they can have enough amount of avocados to be collected, to be taken to the place where they are going to be sold and get a price for it, the high temperatures have already damaged and rotten most of their crop. They get very small amounts for their hard work. So, and the costs for transportations are high. That's why they have to wait. With this thinking of the ecosystem and how can we tackle this and help each other grow, it was identified that a simple solution would be, it's called SocoFresh. It's containers that are refrigerated. They have a system that calculates the temperatures for it. This allows for the farmers to aggregate, and then they can put their avocados there together. It lasts for 2 or 4 days longer. This allows for the trucks to come and be full on load. So this allows for less logistics costs, which allows for taking to the wholesale market, getting even exported prices, and a much bigger value for their work. And everyone wins, and this is also a business model. It has been initially supported by a bank from the Netherlands. It's called Rabobank, or Rabobank, I don't know how you would pronounce it. But it's now full on, it's spinning off. So it's a sustainable model that has proven to bring an average of 20% revenue increase for each farmer. That is quite significant. And just by looking into this, the beyond their own problem, beyond their one part of the supply chain. And finally, textiles. We all know textiles from what we wear, from the furniture at home, but also there's industrial textiles. And it is known for being a great impact, especially on water, for producing textiles, bringing them colors and the washings and the special looks and beyond just the clothes. It uses about 215 trillion liters of water per year. And in that water, they don't only use the water, and the water goes back to nature. It's polluted by chemicals, it's polluted by detergents, microfibers, and that is during their production, but also during their use phase. So a transition to a circular economy could bring a lot of relief for land conversion and biodiversity loss and health and social issues that brings, because we all know that also textiles are quite controversial in some countries that are produced. And also specifically on the fashion industry, it's a great potential for unlocking return or opportunities, because currently, I think our colleague from, I'm going to mispronounce, I think, the jeans, I forgot. Our colleague that presented earlier that works with the jeans and textiles, and they were talking about circularity and what to do with some lots of stock that is caused, and that we should first know what will be sold and then produce it, and not try to sell it what we produced. So this is a lot of the problem. You have a lot of underutilized clothes that are just laying in storage, and then they are burned or landfilled. They were never worn. And this is an immense investment and costs that could be reverted into profits and revenues. So making sure that textiles are made in a better way, that don't pollute waters, that don't make employees or people that wear them sick, ensuring that when we make them, we use the best materials for it, materials that can be recycled, materials that were sourced from regenerative agriculture, such as cotton, or if from other sources that they can be properly recycled. That textiles are produced in a way that it can last longer, and that consumers understand that and value that. And at the end, when they are no longer usable, that also they are collected and recycled in a proper way. So this is a bit similar to the electronics, I think you might notice. And a very inspiring example is Patagonia. Probably you've seen it as outdoors clothing, gear, also materials for sports. They are based in their headquarters in California, but you see their stores everywhere. And they're also very committed to becoming circular. They have this, every Black Friday, they make this announcement, don't buy this jacket, and it's quite controversial. And they're just trying to remember people that they don't need to buy more of their products, that they can rent their products, that the products that they do buy, they can last much longer. They're of very high quality. They're made of, they source their suppliers that are in line with their thinking of producing materials that can be recycled, that are produced with contents that are not toxic, the contents that are coming from perhaps recycled content or regenerative agriculture. And they offer as well quality and repair. They say they have a policy that for most of the damage or repairs that are needed in your gear that you buy from them, they make it for free. So, and it's a lifetime guarantee. So those things, they made it work. And I'm not saying that it's easy, but I'm just saying that it's possible. Even in the cafeteria, I just recently learned that they have a cafeteria in the headquarters, and they are showing also for the employees how important it is to think different. And they have been working together to the food that is not consumed, it's made in compost, so they don't take it to landfills. So about all this innovation, and you're probably wondering where to begin, or how does that apply to me? As you saw, it's different thinking. It takes energy, it takes time, it takes will. And I'm not saying, again, that it's easy to change your mind, to change your systems, to convince your stakeholders, to convince your employees or your consumers. But things can be better and can bring you better revenues if you just look into it. So where to start? I would say start by knowing your numbers. And by that, I mean, do you know how circular your business is today? So that's where to start. And what are your hotspots? So how circular you are, but you can be talking about different things in your business. So you could be looking into how you design your product. So what is the output is it the output of your production that could be improved? Because how you design it is how you can recycle it. Is it your operations in general? Is it the sourcing? Should you be procuring in a different way? What are you looking for when you're looking for suppliers? So, and you're not alone, and it's not so new that you don't have any help, and help for free, actually. There are quite a few available tools for companies to know today how circular they are, and by knowing that, you can start thinking of how to move forward. So I want to mention just quickly two of the most known or mentioned, and you can find videos, YouTube videos on explanations, and access the website for free, etc. So this first one is called Circular Transition Indicators. It has been created by the World, it's a big name, the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, WBCSD. And it's on the fourth version, because they keep improving it. Now they have included water, also assessing how much water is used and impacted and polluted, and etc. So it's an assessment, as many others, of the company boundaries, material flows. And it combines it with additional indicators that measure the efficiency of the use of resources, so energy use, and value added of circular business models. So it's based on objective, quantitative, proven data from that company, and that is easy to be collected, verified, and calculated. And that's it. It's a free online tool, and you can start looking at it. They have also supports and a lot of data and knowledge shared publicly. And it's basically a quantitative metrics, a set of them, and that helps companies consistently measure and understand how circular or how linear they are, where are potentially, by seeing your hotspots and what it could change easier or first, you can see what are your next moves and circular opportunities. And it's made, of course, in full confidentiality, so you're not sharing your data with the rest of the world. And the other system I wanted to share is Circulytics. It's been created by Ellen MacArthur Foundation. It's a very known foundation also talking about circular economy and sharing knowledge across the world. Many of these numbers that I have mentioned are coming as well from Ellen MacArthur Foundation. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. So Circulytics is also an assessment and supports a company for the transition to a circular economy to identify how to decouple growth from use of material resources and other resources. And it works regardless the industry or the size of the company. And the interesting thing about it is that it goes beyond measuring material flows. It measures across the board by looking into different indicators, looking throughout all operations from a company. And they say from enablers, so even the strategy that a company has, is it circular or not, and the plan that has long-term plans, to then the outcomes on those processes that we were talking about earlier, so programs, operating models. It uses company data level, and also very, very amazing and surprising that they apply their insights. So when a company applies for being assessed and submitting their data, you also get as a company, AMF's data and metrics team assesses the data you provided and gives you their insight, gives the company their insights and highlights of suggestions. Here's where you could go next. So I think that's for whoever is thinking seriously about becoming more sustainable. That could be an amazing tool. And for last, we have, once you have seen your hotspots, you have tried those tools, you can take a next level that is measuring, beyond looking how circular you are and measuring it, you can set targets for it. So there is this very comprehensive target setting guidance created by Accenture as a result of this initiative that is PACE, my organization is involved, combined with Circle Economy, another organization that works in providing information and solutions for the world becoming more circular. It's called the Circular Economy Indicators Coalition. You can find out more online. I think the slides will be shared, so and I'm happy to share as well if you ask me. And this guidance, what it does, is that it compiles numerous materials to point the users, therefore the companies, to know all available relevant tools, approaches, methodologies, and standards that some of you already know some of them, but it's quite sparse, so it's very helpful to know and have it all in one place, to learn what are the best practices regarding KPIs for circularity, to learn and understand how to use those KPIs, and to then set which KPIs to reporting against impactful targets. So yeah, it enables for you to create quantitative goals as a company and drive meaningful progress. So just a quick example, Philips, 10 years ago, saw the potential for circularity on business value and innovation. And they have since then incorporated, well, you see there, circular revenues metrics to their long-term strategy. And as of today, 18% they public this on their website, their report, corporate sustainability reporting, that 18% of their revenue today is coming from circular. So, I know the proportions are different, but it's still very, very impressive. My last slide is a thank you slide. I hope I didn't. It's been good on time. I tried to keep it short, but it wasn't so short. I just wanted to say the transition to a circular economy brings opportunity. It brings you to rethink how you do things, but it also brings you to become more resilient. So I would like to finish by saying, don't delay this decision any longer. You got to to position your business, make a good plan, a good strategy, use the tools that are available for you. And metrics can help you, as we hear it now and then. What doesn't get measured cannot be managed. And you cannot be serious about change if you don't know your numbers and you don't know where you're going. Thank you.